Deputy Smith,
Yeah,
you're not in this grouping though, are you?
No, but I'm told I could put up my hand to ask a question in this grouping.
Yeah, you can ask supplement.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, my question to the Taoiseach is in relation to an independent review report that is meant to be given to Micheál Martin today into allegations of bullying and harassment in Defence Forces, namely the Women of Honour who featured in that high-profile radio documentary in late 2021, female Defence Force members who acted as whistleblowers in regard to their own treatment of bullying and sexual harassment in their military lives. Micheál Martin has said that he's fully committed to ensuring that every member of the Defence Forces has the right to undertake their duties in a safe environment underpinned by dignity and equality, and in a culture of zero tolerance for any kind of bullying, discrimination, harassment or sexual abuse. Now, my question to you is a bit similar to the one I asked you earlier on. The report is to be handed to the Taoiseach today, and following that it is to be given to be reviewed by the Attorney-General. And Micheál Martin will bring the report to Government for consideration and subsequent publication. But there is no timeline on this publication of the report. And again, similar to earlier on in the case of the abortion review, we need a timeline for these reports. We can't leave these women. It's a year ago since that documentary, since the report was commissioned, more than a year ago since the documentary, and it's a long time for them to be waiting for a result.
Taoiseach, please.
Just again want to thank the deputies for their questions. In relation to the implementation of the Defence Forces Commission, or of the implementation of the Commission's recommendations, the high-level action plan sets out the initial implementation and oversight structures. A high-level steering board is chaired by the Secretary-General of the Department of Taoiseach, and that oversees delivery. The Implementation Oversight Group has been established to monitor the implementation of the recommendations approved by Government, and the group, chaired by Ms Judy Cinnamon, has met 4 times to date, with the most recent meeting held on the 27th of February. Some recommendations are considered priority, and these are the ones that will be implemented first. A Civil Military Implementation Management Office has been established, initially focusing on the 38 early actions set out in the high-level action plan and the production of an implementation plan. Work is currently at an advanced stage on the implementation of these 38 early priority actions, including the development of an implementation plan. And the implementation plan will clearly set out the work that is to be progressed this year and indeed beyond. In relation to the issue of the report on the Women of Honour, a judge-led review was established by Minister of Defence Simon Coveney following the Government approval, and examined those very systems, policies and procedures for dealing with issues related to bullying, discrimination, harassment, sexual harassment and sexual misconduct in the Defence Forces, as well as the prevailing workforce culture. I am fully confident that this review has been a necessary and critical first step to address the need for a safe work environment for serving members with zero tolerance for such unacceptable behaviour. The chair of the independent review group, Ms Brona O'Hanlon, submitted the final report to the Taoiseach on the 2nd of February. He is now considering the report in full in consultation with the Attorney-General. Thereafter, he will bring the report to Government for consideration and assessment and subsequent publication thereafter. There is a process to be followed, but there won't be any undue delay in this regard. I don't intend to preempt any recommendations in the report, but I do want to reiterate that the terms of reference of the review are wide-ranging, and provided that the Government may consider further work on the receipt of an independent review, including with regard to matters of a historical nature and how these might be best pursued and further inquired into. Just in relation to issues that we're taking to address recruitment and retention issues in the Defence Force, and I acknowledge that we have a very severe problem with recruitment and retention in the Defence Forces, but this is not in any way unique to the Defence Forces in Ireland, or indeed unique to Ireland. Recruitment and retention is now a major challenge across all sectors of our economy: the public sector, the private sector, low-paid jobs, high-paid jobs. And in many ways, that is a feature of the fact that we are now close to full employment. with more people working in Ireland than ever before, youth unemployment close to an all-time low, female workforce participation close to an all-time high. And we do need to be mindful of that context, that when you approach full employment, you're going to see recruitment and retention difficulties across the public and private sector, not just in areas where there was traditionally a problem. Also, the world of work has changed. People are less likely to commit to a job for life or a career for life in the way they did in the past, and I think that's a good thing, by the way. So resignation rates from organisations, public and private sector, of around 4 to 5% are now quite normal, and 1% is actually very low. In relation to the Defence Forces specifically, we've approved a move to increase the Defence Forces capability by an additional 2,000 personnel beyond the current establishment figure of 9,500. The immediate focus is on stabilising the staffing situation and bringing the strength up to 11,500 by 2028, including a civilian component. In respect of recruitment, there's ongoing general service and direct entry recruitment. A separate recruitment competition has been launched specifically for the Air Corps. Direct entry competitions are ongoing, as are the re-entry schemes for former members of the Defence Forces. The Be More recruitment campaign launched last year highlights the career opportunities available in the Defence Forces and the wider benefits of membership. Measures being implemented include service commitment schemes in the Air Corps and the Naval Service, and the Seagoing Naval Personal Tax Credit. Pay has improved as a result of increases arising from the Public Service Pay Commission report, from recent pay agreements, and the early implementation of some of the recommendations of the Commission on Defence Forces. Two of these recommendations, personnel of private 3-star able seaman rank being paid the full military service allowance applicable to the rank, and the removal of the requirement that the cohort mark time for the first 3 years at that rank, have had a substantial impact on starting pay rates in the Defence Forces, which now compare more favourably with starting pay rates across the public service. There is scope for further income as well from duty allowances. So from today, pay rates, including the military service allowance, for the ranks of 3-star private or able seaman in the first 3 years of service will now have a starting salary of over 37,000, rising to 38,500 in year 2 and just under 40,000 in year 3. Just finally, in relation to Deputy Barry's question, and it's a fair question, but probably not one best dealt with in this kind of format. The Civil War happened 100 years ago. Atrocities were committed on both sides, as the Deputy said, by the National Army and also by the irregulars, and those atrocities were wrong. And I acknowledge that, but I think there's an appropriate place for us to deal with that, and it's not Taoiseach's questions of a random Wednesday afternoon.